knew somebody that could come and share what Cavaliers do and who they are, that we should try to get them. And don't you know that we have a covenant partner who has also been an elder, has participated in men's ministry, has participated in assisting in the traditional service, and I reached out to Gardner and asked him if he would be able to do that, and he, as it happened, is the commander this year or for a year, and so we are privileged to have one of our own covenant partners and the commander of the Cavaliers with us today to share with us. So Gardner, you want to come and share what you have prepared for us. And thank you for being here.
Everybody still sits on the back row. Yeah. Well, I have been heckled so much by that poster out there the last few weeks. Joe, did you put that picture on there? Not at all. And I wasn't going to wear the uniform, but I saw it on that deal, so I'm like, I have to wear the uniform and do this. So I'm really happy to do this. There are a couple overlaps with our church, too. You mentioned a few with me, but I didn't have time to do a full count, but I bet we have 30 members that are Cavaliers also. I think some of the founders of the church were Cavaliers at the time. Also, you'll learn more about our charitable foundation, and there's definite crossover in our mission work that we're doing too. So it's very fitting to do this, and hopefully it's informative. So here is what I'm going to go through today. Kind of an outline of the history, and hopefully it doesn't bore you too much, but there are some interesting components, kind of where we've grown over the years and what we're doing, and then where we are today and where we plan to go. The organization itself was founded in 1926. There's a guy named John Carrington, and this guy must have been a character. He formed 2 or 3 to 4 organizations that we all know today, like the Order of the Alamo. There's some others that didn't make it. He was just real into this dress-up party stuff, and kind of caught on. But he was passionate about the Cavaliers, and his purpose of it, you'll see at the bottom, was to kind of keep those old ancient traditions going. And there were the 19 guys he talked into doing it, and it was founded on these main points, kind of that aristocratic heritage, which was really about horses for them. So kind of the knights is what they're thinking, medieval kind of stuff like that. So they dress up. And here later, those first 19 guys, you made them wear black tights and just really weird stuff. And they almost quit. Like 2 years later, they had to change it into more like this look. So there's the heritage, the horsemanship, kind of knights and things like that. And then there's the Texas heritage. So the Alamo is a big part kind of in our bylaws. The Alamo is something that we hold true and want to help. And then that has evolved into being a major philanthropic contributor to our community. Kind of what I said a little bit, but a little more. Have y'all ever gone to the pilgrimage to the Alamo? Have y'all ever done that? It's on you have? It's a really neat deal where all the organizations similar to the Cavaliers or charities, they line up. I forget the building, but that has the Vietnam memorial statue. Line up there, just a ton of people. And we march together, all quiet. Every organization's carrying a wreath. And you go in front of the Alamo. You salute the Alamo and drop the wreath, kind of in reverent honor. And so John Carrington started that back in the day. I encourage y'all to attend and do that. So that's number one, that he wanted to honor the Alamo there. He created the king 1924, there's some gaps of time, really didn't take off till 1927, but that was part of what he wanted to see. One I hadn't spoken to yet was military relations. As San Antonio has become a military city, the Cavaliers, that's one of our tenets too, is to be involved with the military. We're with the military all the time. In fact, our king gets to fly in one of the fighter jets. That's a tradition the Air Force does for us. When there's a new general at Fort Sam, we have special dinners with him and all his group. So there's a real close connection with the military all year, not just Fiesta. And then Ari mentioned the horsemanship. So kind of back to the uniforms. This is a look after the black tights. This is kind of where it evolved. It's a little similar, but just nobody wanted to do that at all. And when it morphed into this French Foreign Legion look, that's where it came from. And they went to the department store at the time of Frank Brothers, not Frost Brothers, but Frank Brothers, right downtown, and said, make me look like this French Foreign Legion picture. And that's how it ended up, these colors and the baby blue. Well, for the first 5-10 years, even now, it's like, hey, will you hold the doorman? Or would you press the button on the elevator? Yeah, so there's a little confusion there that still happens that everybody has fun with. So the styles evolved a little bit to what it is today. And they would dress up. They'd go to San Pedro Creek Park. And I think I've always heard back in the day that was a big deal. Weren't there big pools there and large lawn area and things like that? Well, there was areas for horses there too, if I'm naming the place correctly. They would have these tournaments, like medieval tournaments with horses and joust. No one knew what they were doing, all this stuff. And so if you have time to thumb through that history book, some of the stories are really funny, how they get really hurt, but they would full on joust each other. Sometimes the joust would go in the ground and just launch them, and pretty entertaining stuff. One of our longtime member last names, the Steves. Everyone knows the Steves. Well, at the time it was in the 1920s. There was a Steves that rode horses a lot, and he was pretty thin. Well, the horse master guy, it was really hard to get horses. He said, no one can ride our horse unless you weigh less than horseman Steves here. So then the tradition was to take him to a huge dinner a couple of times before they did the weigh-in to make sure he was filled out. There's some funny stories on even the Battle of Flowers Parade now. We're riding the horses down there, and some Cavaliers can get a little overweight on these horses, and the heckling is pretty funny. I think one person yelled, like, "Cavalier, you're going to kill that horse." Second. So the River Parade, that didn't start till 1941. And it was, if y'all gone to Mexico City, there's that part of Mexico City, and I don't know if I'm saying this right. Xochimilco, did I say that? And I've been there. Jill and I went there to kind of check it out. It was my year to plan for the River Parade, so I want to see where it all started. It's just like that. It's beautiful, kind of these gardens and these boats. So that's where it was inspired from. And let's see, it was Mayor Maverick is the one that said, okay, you can use the river. And we were having a conversation just earlier. Every year the city decides if we're going to be able to do the River Parade again. So you all can do a River Parade, if the city says okay. So that's a lot of pressure on us to do a good job and keep improving it. But the main thing we have is I'll go through membership in a second. We have over 650 members that are volunteering to put it on, and it's a ton of work. You have to do it in 1 week, get the barges decorated, do the parade, and get them off. And that's not something you can just hire anybody to do. So it's kind of nice. But I don't know if everybody knows that we're asked every year or not asked. So we hope to continue to do a good job. This parade has grown to over 250,000 people are watching it. There's 18,000 on the river, and that shows how many are watching it from the street. They did a census, so that includes hotel rooms and on the street. So a lot of people, and then more through the TVs and how it's syndicated and things like that. So it's become a big event. Right now, the last budget I saw to do it was $850,000 to put it on. So pretty amazing, expensive deal to do. So here is an image, and we should go back to this. It wouldn't cost that much. This is the plywood example on how it used to be, and they'd pole through the river. Obviously, it didn't do the whole river like it does now, but kind of the main part of the horseshoe. So that's a really neat picture on the early days. So funny story, two funny stories. In 1989, the Fiesta Commission's like, they're in charge of all this stuff. Well, they had their president and his wife were wearing formal attire, and that year their boat totally sunk to the point where they had to get off, go in the water up to here, and climb out. So there's different stories like that we don't talk about very much, but it happens. And Trace Buchek is walking in. He's a member with me, and so when the Q&A starts, you got to ask him too. He's done all this stuff. Yeah, he can heckle. He's been the main ones I was telling y'all was heckling me. Yeah, 96, this isn't that funny, but we spent a ton of money on a new King's cruiser, and right when it was going through the main part of the parade, the whole thing just blows up, shuts down, no power, no nothing. So there are always events every year in that parade that you just kind of work out and just keep going. So organizational milestones. I mentioned the first king, 1924, really got going in 1927, became the King Antonio that we know today. The only time that was interrupted in kings was during World War II. Big part is military. When the military was at war, no parades. So I think it's 2 years we didn't have a king or the parade to do that. The king number, we had King 100 just a few years ago. Now it's 102, Paul Ross 102. But we always use our Roman numerals, so you can see those. So it's gotten a little easier with the C or the CII this year. But then we've trademarked our logo since the 70s, and so it's a serious thing for us. So where do we meet? You know about the parade. Well, our physical presence is right now in the St. Anthony. If you go in the St. Anthony Hotel, you walk in the lobby, go up the stairs, and there's the Cavalier room. And it's open for everybody. Go in there, and you can see all the past or former kings on the walls and some neat memorabilia, some of the old uniform pictures you saw in actual uniforms in there. So it's really neat. But there were years when we were at the Minger. There were years when it was at the Placio del Rio, and it just ended up at the St. Anthony a long time ago. Then there's a period we were floating around, how it's called the King Suite. So during Fiesta, there'll be a large suite that's reserved for people to come and enjoy the king and his castle. But when the St. Anthony was purchased by some of our membership, that's when we brought it all back and renovated it, brought back that history, the Cavalier room and things like that. So I'd encourage you to go and see it. It's pretty neat. We have some great traditions. See the picture of the motor cops here. That is one of our favorite. They enjoy it too. But when the cars are driving down the streets, going down to all the Fiesta events, it wouldn't happen. Trace, correct me if I'm wrong, because Trace did all this. At least 70 schools or 50 to 70 stops, something like that. Well over 100. Okay. And there's no way to do it without the motorcycle. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. It's all year. And the motorcycle cops become part of the family. In fact, the same two, Jason and Mike, have extras after that. I think have been part of the castle for 10 plus years or something. They love it. And that started in 1929. I don't know what the motorcycles were back then, maybe something different. We talked about the changes of the floats and kind of how that's evolved. Right now, the decorators out in New Orleans, a company called Kern. So if you ever go to a Mardi Gras parade, it's the same decorator that's doing it right now. It changes from time to time, but it's quite the work. Every now and then we have some notable guests, either that we get to see or become a part. I mean, Emmett Smith was one of our grand marshals one year. We've been in a presidential parade, inauguration parade. I think we've gone to 2 governor inaugurations. Governors come see, special dinners, things like that. Definitely involved with the city and the mayor and things like that. Yeah. Charlie Duke, yeah. He did both. So, did y'all hear that? I mean, the astronaut Charlie Duke was a grand marshal 2 years ago. He was almost 100 then, but he was our grand marshal for the river parade, but he did the Battle of Flowers also. So he's a special person. Um, so anyway, we have a lot of fun. It's great having different grand marshals, and it's something they really enjoy and love to do, and it gives exposure. But the most exposure that and purpose for our organization is really the charitable side. And we talked about how there's a lot of crossover with the church, things that are mission impacts for the church. There's direct correlation in what our foundation gives to. So, stat for you all: the charitable foundation, which was started in 1989 by Fred Middleton. Fred Middleton's a member. So he and Marshall Clegg started the foundation in that period. I think first they each put in $100 and got it going. Well, since then they've given away over $17 million. So the corpus as it stands now, you can see it grew from around 14,000 normally to 500. Now it's over almost 9 million. Was it 13? But then we're giving some away. But it's spread out. That we usually have a major charitable honoree that we give to, but we also give to a number of charities each year. So 52 is our typical count. So definitely well received, and it's a process for us. So it is not, gosh, I like them or they asked. We have a whole grant application process that happens over 6 months, where they come in. The applicant number is well over 100 charities asking for grants. And then we sift through. We actually go and visit the locations. The ones we really like to give to are those that are in year 1 or 2, like we're giving them that seed capital to really get going. There's one called Zapatos Shoes. A lady just wanted to collect shoes and give them away, finding that so much of our population in San Antonio doesn't even have shoes. It's terrible. And she was taking off. So we gave her seed capital, and then if you look it up, I think she had somebody take over because she passed away, the person who started it. But it's an enormous charity now. It's doing great. So that's where we make the largest impact on those things. A copy of our current foundation report is on the table if y'all want to peruse that. We publish that every year and what we give. Typically, we're giving around $1 million to $2 million away a year for that. Our big gift, biggest ever, and I think y'all had a presentation from the Alamo a few weeks ago, was we gave $7.5 million to the Alamo to do a Texas Cavaliers Children's Museum. And they're under construction now. That was successfully done. Took the gamble a couple years ago. Yes, Alamo will do it. And with the help of Susan Naylor in particular, if you haven't met her, she's an amazing philanthropist. She came alongside us. We gave $5 million. and then she did 2.5. Just amazing gift to get this project going. And it should be opened later this year if everything stays on schedule. And there's some other educational components that are in there that were impactful for us. A big part of our charter on the charity side is for children in Bexar County. So it needs to match with that. And then we also had in our Cavalier charter the Alamo, so this was a perfect opportunity for us to give. Signature events, we know about the River Parade and that fundraising that happens. So the fundraising from the parade itself, the net proceeds go to our foundation. And so the foundation goes and does what it's doing. So that's the purpose for us. We have other charitable events, concert every year that the foundation puts on in memory of one of our past members is done. Usually a pretty good headliner plays and great fundraising event. Margaret Casillas, I don't know if y'all know her. She helped to start an art contest at the Craft Center. And essentially, contest is sent out to, I forget how many schools receive it, Trace, if you remember, actually 10. And one in each district. And the winner, this is for elementary schools, the winner is given up to $3,000 for their school art program and for herself on moving her art success forward. So it's really neat. The city council people come as well to support their district and talk, and we have a presentation right at the Craft Center. So neat deal that Margaret Casillas helped us start. Gone through most of this already, where we give and what our focus is. You know, really kids and then all those other components there. I went to last night, you know, Trace was mentioning that this stuff goes all year. I went to the Fiesta Especial Royal Court. I don't know if y'all have heard of that. It was the neatest experience. It was essentially for special need children, and they had to raise money with help for their favorite charity, and whoever raised the most became on the court. So you have these kids just not only feeling fulfilled, they did something and learned, but then they're also dressed up in the court. Well, we get to go. King Antonio went to go, and Ray Feo was there, and we're honoring these kids. So you're doing this stuff all year. It is just such an eye-opening deal for us to participate in, learning San Antonio. Everybody asks, well, how do you become a Cavalier? You know, what's the secret there? Well, there isn't a secret. There's a age. 25 to 44 is the age. Typically, we have a set number, 14 a year, that come in and that are evaluated. And usually there's over 100 applying, so it's really neat, and we find great business people, or people involved in the community that are going to fit with what we're trying to accomplish. So that's the process that we have. The only exclusions are if you're active in the military or you're a full-time student. That's in our bylaws. How we're structured, you have a president. I'm the commander this year, so that's the president. We have the King Antonio that does all the public-facing events for us. The King has 3 aides. Trace was an aide. He's also on our board right now too. But the King has 3 aides. One's the executive aide that does things before Fiesta. Then you have a day aide that does the Fiesta week and plan all that. And then you have a night aide for the night activities. It's amazing how much work they do. We have a board of 11 that does the administrative function of what we're doing. And same with our foundation, has its own board. On our count for members, we have almost 650 members right now, and all kinds of industries and what they're doing. So really, that's it. I'd love some Q&A if you're curious. You may not be at all, but I love this organization, and you know, I'll leave you with this. It's going to be our 100th year this year. I said our 100th king was 2 years ago. the king started before the organization officially started, so that's why there's a difference in count. But our 100th year will be this next year, 26. And so hopefully you'll see a lot of PR about what we're doing. We want to do 100 days of Cavalier impact, so you'll see some of that and a lot of other big events. So, Joe, thanks for the time to
Thank
do
you.
this.
Thank you. If you have questions, use the microphone so that everybody can hear your question. Anybody have questions?
And ask Trace, too. He knows more than me. Great.
Okay, so Gardner was parade marshal in charge of River Parade 2 or 3 years ago, and accordingly, he gets to choose what's called the charitable honoree, the one that gets the most money. So who did you choose and why, and how much did you give him?
Yeah, that's a softball. I chose Haven for Hope. And so that connects, if you remember what our charter has to do with children. So Haven for Hope learned there's over 300 kids at any given time that are living there. I mean, it's really sad. So Haven for Hope, and we gave them $1.2 million that year. So it was great. That's a special place. Ended up on their board because of that. That was really neat. Thanks, Trace.
Can you ask him a hard question?
Trace, what was the best story when you were an aide?
It was coming here, right?
I did come here to Keys, and that may have been the last time we came here because of COVID, and Gardner's actually talked about adding that stop
coming back.
The best stop I had as an aide was the very first stop we had, which was at one of the VA hospitals. And we went to pick up the medals that are handed out literally that day on the way to the stop. And I dropped off King Antonio and another aide to take him in because we were late. And I got on the elevator, and this lady said to me, "Are you King Antonio?" I said, "No, but I came here with him." And she said, "Do you have a medal?" I said, "Yes, I have a medal. Not only do I have a medal, I have the very first medal that will be given out in San Antonio this year." And she said, "Well, I grew up in an orphanage, and all I ever had to look forward to was getting a King medal every year." And so she said, "I have every one from when I was a child." And this lady was probably in her 60s.
Other questions?
No, he did not give her the medal.
He
He ended the trend.
He stuck it back in his pocket and went, yeah.
I have some medals for y'all, too. I'll put them on the back table.
Questions?
So I've seen you guys out at the different nursing homes and in the schools and so forth, and it'll be a real hot day, and you guys are in those very heavy uniforms. I want to say costume, uniform. Do you have several? Because you sweat them through when you're working.
Well, some do, most don't.
You just have the one?
Yeah, and funny story, I took mine to Arcadia Grove, and they had to run it through twice because it was so gross. So yeah, they get pretty nasty. Yeah. I don't know if he has two. Does he have two, Trace, or just one? King Antonio. Yeah, except the jacket. So, yeah, he wore that the next day.
Other questions?
This was great. I really appreciate the time. Thank y'all for being interested. I'm going to leave one of the annual reports back there for y'all to thumb through. I'm going to take that history book back, though. And I'll leave some medals for you, too. Thanks for the time, Joe.
Will you stay with us for lunch?
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to.
And this is a token of our appreciation. I don't know what the qualifications are to get things on your uniform, or if that's not in uniform, but
Put it on.
if it is, I'll be looking for that.
It'll be there.
Thank you. So I think we have plenty of seats for lunch. If you guys want to stay for lunch, did you sign up for lunch? We'd be happy to have you stay for lunch. And let me pray. All the upcoming events are, the signups are on the table. Who came to last week's birthday lunch? Was that not a great day? We had 40 people signed up, and it was fun. It was fun, the good food. So it's always glad to see. It's not all in the numbers, but and they had to kick us out because they had another group coming in behind us, and they had to nicely asked us if we could move on, and we did. We didn't barricade the door or anything. So next month's birthday lunch is at the Menger, and we will be in that little private room that you have to go downhill to get to the buffet, and we'll try to make sure that everything works out. $15, cheapest entrance into the Menger. And I don't know that I think the sign up is out there. Maybe it's not yet, but that's coming. So take time to sign up for upcoming events. Next week we have the rodeo folks coming. Can you believe it's rodeo time? And then we have a couple good musical things coming in February. The Boulder Jacks. I just got a random email from this couple that travels, and they're a Christian couple. They sent me some promos. I sent the promos out to the committee, and we decided that we would invite them to come, because I don't know if you've heard this yet. Rick Cavender is not coming. He has retired. And I told him that I would never not invite him to come because I would get tarred and feathered. And I said, when you decide that it's time to not do this anymore, I'll make that announcement. So this is not to replace Rick Cavender, but they're traveling through. I don't know. They sent me an email, and I looked at their promo tapes, and I think we will enjoy them. And she has a testimony of her battle with cancer. So that's coming, I think, February 7th. And then a fun thing, Valentine's Day, we have Elvis, and Elvis will be in the building. And we had someone scope him out, and I got good reports, and so we have him scheduled. His name is Michael, I can't remember his last name. So there's some fun things coming in February, and make sure that you sign up. So let me pray, and we'll join together for lunch. Father, thank you for Gardner being able to be with us today. Thank you for his connection with this church. For the opportunities that I've had to serve with him, and thank you that he has come and shared with us, and we pray that you would multiply the gifts in the hearts and lives of the folks that are helped by the donations, and thank you for the opportunity that we have each year to be just a little part of the Cavaliers programs around Fiesta. Pray that you would use this meal to nourish us. Thank you for tables. And pray that you would go before us in every way. In Jesus' name, amen. That was a good one.
I told him we were buying dinner.
You told him? I told him.
That's why I said.
So now I know.
Oh,
for sure.
we're buying dinner.
Thank you.
4:30.
That's what my wife told me.